Everything you want in life, I believe, is right outside your comfort zone.
Author Eric Johnson, The Switch Within. Author Eric Johnson, The Switch Within. Sunday Night Live.
There's definitely a switch inside each and every one of us.
Yeah.
So, like, think about the walls here.
Yeah.
Even when the lights are off, there's electricity in these walls. Even during your worst moments, there is vitality ripping through your veins. There is an electrical life force within you. And life can turn that switch off, but it's still there. There was...
What makes a lion a lion? I'm looking because if I can find out what makes a lion, I can help you turn that switch on. Because we all have it. That switch is in all of us. It's in a high school dropout. That switch is in someone who was homeless and ate out of trash. That switch exists in all of us. And I knew if I could turn the switch on, and if I could teach you how to turn that switch on.
Reverend Belton says Daddy's Club is a church building fund, but it's hard to say exactly where all that money goes. Can you get an audited financial statement of where all of that money goes?
No.
You didn't know where the money went?
No. In our general assembly, there's no financial statement.
But you can see some of the church's wealth in real estate. Sweet Daddy Bailey stays in this 16,000 square foot mansion in the Derrida neighborhood whenever he's in Charlotte. Owned by the church for the use of the bishop, by law, the $3 million estate pays no property taxes. But the bishop visits here less than a month each year. And during the other 11 months of the year, who stays in that house?
No one.
Nobody?
Nobody.
Sweet Daddy Bailey travels with a uniformed entourage. He rides on a throne in a parade in Washington, D.C. each Memorial Day. He arrived at the church on Beatty'sford Road in Charlotte earlier this year in a custom German-made Maybach automobile.
That's one of the most expensive cars in the world.
You are living a life of luxury. You've got great homes, you've got great planes, you drive in limos.
I'm a very wealthy man.
You're a very wealthy man.
Yes.
Yeah. And some people would say that is it appreciated?
May I add something to that? My wealth doesn't come from offerings alone.
Because you sell things, books and DVDs.
Yes. And I have a lot of natural gas on our property. Didn't know that, did you, baby?
Now I do.
Yeah, you do. Isn't that wonderful?
Gucci store in Troy and purchased something?
Yeah,
What
like
would
I
that
say,
be?
it probably was a belt or maybe shoes. I don't
Belt
know.
or shoes?
But I don't usually buy my suits from these very expensive places. I just get the things that I invest in will last longer, like such as belts.
So you got to go
or
to
shoes.
Gucci or places like that.
Well, no, I buy those things from there because they have a better TV appearance.
Another and say he should have listened. Every brother, would you tap another brother and say, I should have listened to her? God help me. Old saints, y'all forgive me, but I got to tell you, these hoes ain't loyal. You got to find somebody.
Hey, how y'all doing tonight? Welcome to Sunday Night Live with author Eric Johnson. We're gonna get started here in just a second. How y'all feeling today on this beautiful Sunday? What y'all eat today? Drop it down in the chat. Y'all know how I do it in the comments. Good evening, brother Zaniel. Hey, babe, how you doing? Good evening to everyone. We're gonna give everybody a chance to get logged in, and then we're gonna go forward. I'm feeling amazing. Had an amazing week, and I look forward to tonight. Last week, we talked about special education, and we had my niece, Amy Williams, on board, and she dropped a lot of jewels in the area of special needs. And I like when she said that disability doesn't mean death, doesn't necessarily mean death, and we went over a lot of valuable information in the space of special education. And she gave some wonderful resources. If you would go on YouTube, check that episode out, Special Education, Special Needs with Amy Williams. And we're about to get started here in just a second, y'all. Got a good topic, man. We had a beautiful time on last week, and this week we're going straight in. Not gonna hold you guys too long, but I will say this, just full disclaimer, got a lot of calls this week, got a lot of texts, and people were even far as worried for my safety about talking about this. So I don't really think that it's gonna come across the way I marketed it. I'll just get started with that particular thing. Why did I choose the title, The Church, Pastors or Pimps? And we'll get going here in just a second. Mainly, I chose that topic just for shock value, if you will. Most of us were raised in a church environment, and in that environment, it's kind of hush hush. Everything's top secret. Don't really discuss a lot of church affairs, and you definitely don't put a title on social media and call it The Church, Pastors or Pimps. But I felt like that was something that would get people's attention. I felt that it was a how dare you moment, and I wanted to step right into it. You might also ask, well, what does that have to do with the switch within? Well, typically my comfort zone, I don't discuss religion. Two things I learned a long time ago that you don't talk about typically. One is politics and another is religion. Y'all drop in the chat if y'all can hear me, if I'm clear. I want to make sure that everyone hears me tonight, because I do have a very profound perspective to bring you regarding the subject. I want to give a disclaimer right off the top. I didn't really tell anybody this week, but I'm going to tell the viewing audience that I love God. I love God. I love the church. And I actually grew up in the church. From when I was a little bitty kid. My mom and dad, shout out mom and dad. I know y'all probably watching. They raised me in the church, and I pray every day. I pray every day. Well, you might say, well, why'd you have that, risque title, if you will? Because part of, like I said earlier, my comfort zone, I didn't deal with politics and religion. So now that I've dived into the community or dove into the community work that I've been pursuing, I'm realizing that it's really uncomfortable for me to make some of the statements that I've been making when we talked about murder music in week 1, when we talked about gentrification in week 2, and on last week when we talked about special education. I want to be someone that talks about things that everyone doesn't really talk about. So one more time, let me put out a disclaimer so y'all can stop all the hate mail. I love God. Grew up in church. I love the church. And I pray every day. If you've ever done business with me, people can attest. Before I do business with you, typically I pray with you, just because I believe in prayer, and I believe that prayer does really change things. I honor the ministers and the congregations of integrity who are righteous and help the community. So I'll start right there just by saying that the title, The Church, Pastors or Pimps, it wasn't directed toward those of you who are in the church and doing a great work. I would be crazy to get on this live and not salute all the shepherds around the country and around the world that are truly making a difference in the lives of their church, and not only their church, but in the lives of the community. What I do want to talk about is something a little bit different. I believe that it's a cancer. I believe that it's something evil that needs to be eradicated in the community. And let's go ahead and get started. When we say pastors are pimps, pimps are real flashy. They always have the suits, they always have the jewelry, the cars, and they just really look, I'm going to say the word shiny, for a lack of better words. And for those that may not know, if you've been somewhere, maybe you're young, I'm going to definitely keep it G tonight, G-rated. A pimp is someone that typically uses prostitutes to sell their bodies for money, and then they bring him all the money. Well, during my research, I realized that, pimps don't always have the women selling money. Sometimes they have them doing other things, other criminal acts. But at the end of the day, they always bring the money back to daddy, or the pimp, if you will. And I also realized during my research that it's a slow grooming process, real slow. Typically, the girl has no idea that she's being groomed. She has no idea that she's walking into a situation that she may later on regret. Pimps use words like management. I'm not the pimp. I'm just the girl's manager. I'm just the, one that's handling all the money and all the finances. And so they make the girls bring them all the money all the time, period. / pastors, a lot of them, not all of them, but there's a few that's real shiny, real flashy. They have the jewelry, they got the cars, they got the mansions. And so I believe that a lot of those brothers that are on the side of the cancer that I want to speak to tonight, they still have a little bit of residue in their suits. Whoa. I believe that they do a little grooming as well to those congregation members that they may have. Some guys may say, well, Brother Eric, I wasn't a pimp. I was a player. I like to play, had me a lot of different women. And so, I didn't typically work, but they did. Do y'all know anybody like that? That they don't have a job, but it's their job to play on women. And they use a lot of game, to make sure that they can keep driving her car, spending all her money, exchanging something for something, right? Now, I also did a little further research just to realize that all pimps aren't men. Some ladies out here that's real cold, and they know how to exchange a few things to get a mortgage paid, or to get a purse, or whatever, shoes, nails and hair, that's not really enough. I'm not even talking about those girls. I'm talking about some vicious women that maneuver in this world, and their ultimatum is to use their game to get what they want. And so I would say that they're pimping. I also would say that all the pimps aren't in the pulpit. I believe that there are some pimps in the pews, sitting right among you, and they are in the church exclusively, strictly, just to sell their product to the church. I believe that they're in the church with a motive. And so I want to speak to that tonight. Y'all tap in with me. Let me go to the comments real quick. Everything is good. Jackie, what up? Plight and struggle of Black people in America. What up? Daniel Lowry, everybody, salute. We about to go in. When I think about, let's just recap. I want to speak to a cancer that's in the community where we exist. And I believe it's a negative cancer where a lot of the pastors, a lot of the preachers, a lot of the ministers, they got it backwards. They actually feel that the sheep should be serving the shepherd, but technically I believe it should be the other way around. I believe that the shepherd should actually serve the sheep. Where do y'all think servant leadership came from? I did a little more research and I realized that it came from Jesus himself. And Jesus said, Matthew 20:28, for all my Bible folk out there. Matter of fact, I forgot, this is the book of the week. the Bible. They sell about 100 million. Actually, 100 million Bibles are donated and sold each year. It's the most sold book in the world. 20 million in the U.S. alone. 90, what up? I see you popped in. Jesus said, so let's go back. Servant leadership, let's go back further than that. I believe that some of the ministers have it confused. Well, Brother Eric, you ain't supposed to judge. I get all of that. But in this particular instance, I think y'all would agree that we can kind of see something is wrong with some of these churches. So I feel that the sheep should be served by the shepherd versus the sheep serving the shepherd, if that makes any sense. What up, G? I see you out there, twin, Gerald Hines. I definitely see you. But let's just go to the word, right? Greatest book, most sold, most stolen book too, y'all. They steal a lot of them out of hotels each year. The Holy Bible. Get this, they got it on Amazon. I believe that the Son of Man said he didn't come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. That's Matthew 20 and 28. I also realized that I could take the Bible and pretty much do anything I want to do up here tonight. You have a lot of different religions. You have a lot of different schools of thought, a lot of different points of view, a lot of different denominations. I'm not here to bash any of those. I don't care if you're Baptist, Pentecostal, whatever. I do realize that 76% of the U.S. population is Christian. I was raised in a Christian home, grew up there. And so I don't want to speak against those that are doing good. I want to talk to somebody tonight, and you may be listening, that you know you're just not really lined up with the servant leadership thing. You know, kind of like the guy we saw on the opening clip, Sweet Daddy Bailey, that has his building fund is named Daddy's Club. I want to talk to, Bishop Bailey tonight. And I'm sure there's a lot of Bishop Baileys out there that you may know. We all know right from wrong, right? I mean, this thing is kind of natural. I can go every day, go to work, and I kind of look around and I see a lot of churches. Fun fact, there's over 1,500 churches here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And I want to give a little more facts, text, just to show you what I feel, or what I learned, rather. It's not even what I feel. It's what the Bible says good leadership is all about. I like to read out of the Message Bible, 1 Timothy 3, 1 through 7. If anyone wants to provide leadership in the church, good. But there are preconditions. Y'all check this out. A leader must be well thought of, committed to his wife, cool and collected, accessible and hospitable. He must know what he's talking about, not be over fond of wine, not be pushy but gentle, not thin-skinned, not money hungry. He must handle his own affairs well, attentive to his own children and having their respect. For if someone is unable to handle his own affairs, how can he take care of God's church? He must not be a new believer, lest the position go to his head and the devil trip him up. Outsiders must think well of him, or else the devil will figure out a way to lure him into his trap. I just wanted to come with some documentation of what the Bible says the leader should have, what type of attributes, what type of qualities. And I believe we can all say that it's kind of got away from what it used to be. And it probably got away from maybe 2 or 3 generations ago, how it was when they were young. But do you guys honestly feel that something's wrong? Drop it in the chat if you think that, Brother Eric, there may be a cancer in the community, inside the church, and maybe a lot of people have it wrong, where the congregation is serving the man of God instead of the man of God serving the congregation. And watch this. I'm going to say this a few times tonight. When the man of God serves the congregation, then the congregation can turn around and serve the community. That's the whole reason I did this. I'm not on here to bash the church. I'm not on here to bash the word. I grew up in this. I believe it. I believe it wholeheartedly. But I do believe that just like you have bad test scores in school that need to be discussed, I do believe that there's a cancer in our churches, a lot of them, that it's really gotten out of hand. For instance, when's the last time someone in your community, because I know there's a church where you live, I don't care where you live, there's a church nearby. When's the last time somebody from the church came and knocked on your door? Whoa. One more time. When is the last time someone from a church in your community where you live in Plano, Waxahachie, Mansville, Arlington, wherever, Mesquite, when is the last time somebody came, knocked on your door from the church? I thought this thing was all about bringing souls to Christ. I thought this thing was rooted, entrenched in missionary work. But let me tell you what I noticed. A lot of people know the church in the community, but does the church know the community? And you may say, well, Brother Eric, what is that? Because see, one more time, let me go back to the beginning. I believe that the church serves the people, not the people serving the church. Y'all drop down in the comments. Let me know exactly what's going on. Jackie said, right, using the Bible to fit his or her schemes and mind games. That's exactly what I want to speak to. You can't tell me that the principals and the superintendents don't get together to discuss some of the things in school that may need to be fine-tuned. I just want to give you a few suggestions tonight to fine-tune some things to help the community, period. I don't care what affiliation you are. I don't care how cold you are, preaching, singing, whatever. That really is irrelevant. I came on tonight to say there's a group of people, men and women, that have this thing backwards, and they feel that they should be served, that they should be lifted up. But I believe that Jesus said, one more time, let me go back in my notes, Matthew 20 and 28, just as the Son of Man didn't come to be served, but to serve. That's where the whole servant leadership thing came. Remember? If I'm making sense, y'all throw some thumbs up in the chat. Let me know. I believe that there's a divisive plot of the enemy to separate the church and the community and to cause the idolizing of pastors and the slow destruction of members and memberships. When's the last time somebody knocked on your door from the church? When is the last time you've been in church and they allowed you to put your hand in the collection plate to get gas just to make it home? Have you ever, put it in the chat, have you ever been to a church where they allowed people, let's don't even go that far. You might say, well, Brother Eric, we got to have order. When's the last time the church lined up the whole needy, anybody that said they was in need, lined them up after the offering and just blessed everybody? See, at what point is the church okay? Is the church good? Like church paid off, everything is straight, pastor straight, we got our new robes, whatnot. At what point does the money flow from, watch this, from the church into the community? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can, tell me. I'm gonna definitely let you guys come up here in just a second. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to debate you. Remember, I learned that a long time ago. Don't discuss religion and politics, but I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm really, really deep out of my comfort zone. So that's what the switch within is. Are you willing to speak up if you know something's wrong in the place where you worship, where you get your food? Let me say this. The title was so shocking that people started reaching out to me, even almost like scared for me, like scared for my life. Really? We can't speak in our community on things that we may not agree with. If somebody got discriminated against at Starbucks, y'all be all over that, right? But when I'm saying, hey, something ain't right, when there's 1,500 churches and the community doesn't know the church in their own community? Is there an outreach? And I know everybody's saying, hey, Brother Eric, we got a lot of folk. We're doing a lot of things. I applaud those that are. This live isn't about y'all. I know there's some folk out there really getting it in on the community side from the church. I know that for a fact. I know that, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody that you just seem like you can't trust. Because, right, people typically trust the man of God with no questions asked, right? We typically trust the man of God with no questions asked. We trust him. We believe them. We honor them. You're the first person to walk in at a wedding. First person to walk out at a funeral. We love our man of God. But man of God, can we trust you? Are you foul? I want to talk to somebody watching tonight because I think they watching. That just may be foul. I didn't even come to bash you, brother. I just want to introduce a campaign called Step Down and Step Up. Step down, step up. If you know you're not in a line with that First Timothy that I read earlier, if you know you're not in line, if you know that you're foul, and I'm using foul, I don't know another word to use, but if you know that you shouldn't be in that pulpit leading God's people, just step down, man. Step down, miss, ma'am. Just step down. It could be briefly until you get everything together. Because I'm not saying you're not called. I'm just saying I know a lot of folk that's ministers that are in those vans during the week buying women, taking the church money, blowing it on vain things. So many stories this week, and I kind of got overwhelmed, y'all, with that whole thing. It's just, I want to point the finger. I want to call it out, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm calling it out. If you know you foul, step down. And let somebody that's living right and you know you trust them and you know they righteous, let them step up. Am I wrong for that? Am I wrong for that? Step down. Because guess what? You know what you're doing. I know many ministers that I really could call names. I'm not calling names. That's foul, right? That's messy. I don't want to do that. But I know some people that's not in line, and then Monday through Saturday, they're a whole different person. To me, when you're not in the pulpit, that's what makes you shine. And I'm not talking about somebody that's a minister to have a beard and you heard them say a cuss word. Who cares? I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about people that are dealing with some real serious issues. But every Sunday, every Saturday, if you 7-day Adventist, every Sabbath, every time it's time to congregate, they're the holiest person in the room. But they know they foul. I'm talking to you, and I'm talking to you directly. Step down, step up. If you know you foul, just step down. Get yourself together, man. Get yourself together and allow somebody that's real. And I ain't saying you're not real, but you don't have it together. Stop faking. We trust you blindly. We don't question the man of God, the woman of God, do we? We believe them blindly. And I had to come on and say this, man. I would rather be watching the game, but I believe that my community is in dire straits. That's why we did murder music. That's why we talked about gentrification. And we got some beautiful topics coming up, some real controversial. Talking about the wealth gap next week. Oh man, the wealth gap. But this week I want to talk to that cancer. I want to speak to that evil that exists within our community. And I'm gonna say it one more time. Y'all got it backwards. You're thinking you should be idolized. No, brother, only God. No, sister, only God get that particular amount of love from us. We know you chosen, and I'm not putting my mouth on the man or woman of God. I'm just saying if you foul, you know it, step down. and let somebody step up. I believe that if you're in this world and you in this city, let's just say if you in Dallas, you know some stories. This stuff top secret, some of it, but some of it oozes into the news. Some of it is just, it's sad. And I think that's why I got so much hate mail this week. You know, so many concerned people, you know, these concerned emails. I love the Lord. I love God all day long, but I done got too old to play in church. I did that when I was a kid. Now that I'm a father, now that I'm a grandfather, I'd like to leave a legacy. I like to speak to that evil because that's how we really gonna get the community together. Some of these churches are booming, but does that money ever flow outside the church? I'm asking. When the church is in a good position, give back to the congregation. One more time, give back to you can start within. Like I said, have you ever been to your church and they allowed you made it there on fumes? Have they ever stood up after offering and say, if anybody a little tight, meet us after church. We got some gas money and some food money for y'all. Ever? Have you ever put your hand in the, man, you put your hand in that collection plate, you might draw back a nub like them old folks say, because they you know, that's just not tolerated. But how many of our bodies, how many of the churches, because I know it's the people, right? Yeah, it's the people, but the church operates and they do a lot of business, but technically it's not a business. Some of us are just Fortune 500 with the church. $65 million airplanes with the church. And at what point are you pushing your agenda? You've become self-absorbed and you're pushing your agenda as the shepherd, but you forgot about the sheep. You got a Bentley, but the folk in the congregation barely got there. They about to get put out. I know this may step on some toes. This is my second to the last point, but have we ever considered consolidating some of these churches? I mean, to me, it's almost like the Willie Lynch all over again. And I may receive some, flack for that, but the Willie Lynch saying the light skin and the dark skin, it's like you got the Baptists, they don't mess with the Kojic, and the holiness don't mess with the I mean, just all of these different sects. Have we ever considered, this is my point, have we ever considered collaborating? Consolidating even sometime? We don't want to do that. Guess why? Because then we lose our power. Boy, they gonna hate me after this one. We lose our power if we merge with another church. I build houses in Oak Cliff. Guess what? It's a million gazillion churches. Have they ever considered consolidating? Are they in the community knocking on doors? Does everybody in the church know that pastor, that leader, that shepherd on a first name basis? Because that church has been in the community so much. We have to beware of these false prophets. I believe they exist. I believe you're naive if you don't believe that there's some folk in the pulpit with motive. I'm saying they pimping. I believe that it's not in a sexual sense, but it's what can I get out of this? Do y'all know what the number one scam is in church? I looked it up. The number one scam in church is the preachers asking the parishioners or the members to co-sign for them on cars, homes, building a bigger church. That's the biggest scam. Because at what point does the man of God start thinking and manipulating and, that shouldn't be. So salute to all the brothers out there that's real prophets. They real ministers. They real preachers and pastors. I don't know all the technical terms. I'm not a preacher. And I sure wouldn't be a preacher if I knew I was foul. Let me say this. There's a group of individuals that typically, they don't have the church's best interests at heart. They're literally pimping. You know you're not really managing God's people for God. You're managing them for yourself. And like I said earlier, the pimps just not in the pulpit, some of them. Some of them are in the congregation. Real slick. They only join to promote their new business. They only join to see, who can I find as a victim? Who can I lay up on? Oh, I'm getting too deep. Who can I lay up on up in here? I'm broke. But they say the best place to find the best women, men in the church. I just feel like it's some pimps in the pews too. Just my perspective, y'all. And I believe that stuff need to be eradicated. Need to be eradicated to the point of like cutting out a cancer. Because guess why? The folk is trusting you blindly, right? They trust you. And you're doing them a disservice. You're actually pimping on these people. You're actually using these people. You don't have their best interests at heart. Comment says, why would a player type pastor just step down from his or her hustle in a capitalist society just to honor a request that a black man who really cares request? They probably won't. I'm sorry. They probably won't. And I get that. They hustling. But it hadn't been too many lives. How many lives, plight and struggle of black people in America have you saw in the last 30 days where somebody was calling it out? So if I can just get one somebody, I'm not talking to nobody that's righteous. I'm talking to somebody that's not righteous, but they have a conscience and they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Sometimes you can just speak a word to somebody and maybe it can plant a seed inside of them to shake that foolishness. Because maybe they just really need to be called out. Jackie Johnson said, religion is the reason for so many different churches in the community. It's about spirituality, not about religion. I feel like that's a whole nother lie, baby. We can really get into the details. You know, a lot of folk are super religious, and I get it. But I want to talk to the folk that's foul. So I'm not talking just to the pastors. I'm talking to the pimps and the pews too. Out there just secretly, you know, seeking out a victim in the church. Really? If you think I'm lying, I will drop one name. I'm a member of IBOP. And our church lost $1 million one time doing business with some folk in the church. $1 million. So I know that they exist. I know that they're there. And I just want you to know, if you recognize it, call it out too. Step out of your comfort zone. Turn on that switch within to start, you know, challenging to see those financials. To just see, is your shepherd in line with that 1 Timothy? Let me go back. 1 Timothy 3:1-7. Well, Eric, I don't believe in the Bible, but I know you believe in common sense. And I know you believe in your gut when it's telling you something just ain't right. Something just ain't adding up, that nobody have knocked on your door. All these churches, and nobody knocked on your door to do what, Brother Eric? Just check on you. Introduce themselves. Hey, we the church on the corner, right down the street. Just wanted you to, know that we're open Sundays, start pitching, inviting, because guess what you're doing? You're inviting them to God's house. I thought that's what we was doing out here. When's the last time you, let's say all the good righteous folk, when the last time you made a conscious effort to invite somebody, not just to church, but to God? I thought that's what we was out here supposed to be doing. I try to do my little part when somebody's down or they need some advice. I try to put a word on them because I believe in it. I believe in it. I believe in prayer. I believe that I believe in faith. I believe in a lot of things, and I normally don't get religious. Remember, that's my comfort zone. That's my lifting the veil. I know not to talk about this. I know not to talk about politics. George Bush. When I used to work and people started talking Bush and Obama, I go the other way. When people start talking Protestant, Catholic, Baptist, I go the other way because I learned early. I think my parents told me 2 things you don't want to discuss. You know, you can kind of miss your arguments if you want to. Stay away from religion and politics. Gerald Hines says, say that. Hey, I'm saying it, cuz. And I'm about to let y'all come up. Somebody want to say something, chime in. All my critics, if y'all here, you can chime in too. My dad said, check this out. Solomon, the wisest man that ever lived. Y'all check that out. 1 King 11, 29 through 32. Failed to obey God. I want to give you one more scripture while we're giving them out. So we got 1 King 11, 29, 32. I want to give you Titus 1, 5 through 9. If you're not really religious, you're not really spiritual, just look over it. But those are the facts that's in the word of if you're trying to lead God folk, this is what you need to have in you. Now, while I read that, I thought, man, somebody gonna mess up. I get it, man. I get it. I get it. I get it. I'm talking about foul. I'm not talking about you cuss on Thursdays and you the preacher. You have a beard once a year. I don't care about that. I'm talking about someone in the community with motive that's pimping on the people, male and female, that's in the pews, in the congregation, trying to launch their new product onto the church. Don't be in God's house with motive. That's not right to me, just my opinion. And I just appreciate everybody tonight, you know, for taking time to listen to this particular dialogue. I know I went a little long. One more thing, a rising tide lifts all ships, right? Well, a culture of unity and righteousness and integrity will lift all churches. One more time, a rising tide lifts all ships, and a culture of unity and righteousness and integrity will lift all churches. Brother Zaniel Lowry, man, I appreciate you tapping in. He said Jesus didn't come to be served, but to serve. That's exactly, you know, what I'm trying to give to y'all tonight. If we really want to do some community work, right, we got to learn that the way to do this is through serving. It sounds crazy because you got all your degrees, you got all your money, you got your status, you know, you got your status quo met. You would look crazy working in the parking lot at the church. That just seems crazy. But that's how it go. It's helping them old folk in them wheelchairs on Sundays get in. And guess who's watching? God. He's watching you. I want to drop the link in the chat. Let's see here. If anybody want to come up, cool. Hold on just a second. You got to go to StreamYard.com. / you're going to see a series of letters and numbers. Let me just go over them. So one more time, if you want to come up live, drop your opinion, give me some game. You know, if you agree with me, if you don't agree, come up. StreamYard.com is how you get backstage. / VWHRT8A42X. Put that in your browser. That's going to allow you to pop up. Say a little piece. I thank y'all for being patient with me. I thank y'all for opening your mind just to understand a different perspective. I feel that this community is in dire need. And it's not just the church, y'all. That's just this week's topic. But I do believe that y'all may agree that we can say something's wrong with some of these churches. StreamYard.com/VWHRT8A42X. And I got that in the chat. I'll drop it again as we go. Brother Zanya, how you feeling tonight?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. King, how you feeling?
Everything's beautiful, and I'm so glad that I was able to hear you. Um, my pastor and you were talking about the same thing this morning, and she was talking about we have like 5 or 6 churches on the way to church, and she's like, why are we not talking about going out to the community, reaching out to the Hispanic church, reaching out to other churches that we've never even heard of or even talked to.
Right.
And it's like being the hands and feet of the word. And it's like we are the body, we're the temple, we're the church. The responsibility is on us. Our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And if we don't educate ourselves and we don't have an ear that can hear what the Lord is saying, then we'll be pimped by anybody and anything in the pulpit and in the streets. And the thing is, we want to be lazy. We want to eat junk food. We want to get fast food. We don't want to be fed the meat of the word. We want to be we want the milk of the word.
Right.
And it's like if we don't do that work at home, just like if you don't raise a kid at home and they acting up in public, and we want to go crazy on a kid. No, 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 don't go crazy on a kid in public. You have to go and discipline that child at the house. When they did something that you said not to do, you go ahead and correct that at the house.
Right.
When you go into the church, it's supposed to confirm the word that you heard at home. That word that woke you up at 2:30 in the morning.
Come on now.
That thing that God was talking to you about. Because see, the thing is, you're supposed to look at yourself first. If you're spiritual, you consider yourself first. Then you'll be able to go ahead and correct and love a brother in the right way. Just like before you take, the sawdust out of somebody else's eye, you take that beam out of your eye first. Then you'll be able to see clearly and you'll understand how to get that sawdust out of that brother's eye.
Come on now.
I can't get close to you.
Let me ask you this. I hate to cut you off, but
go ahead.
Sometimes we use certain scriptures for our own benefit, right? When it's kind of like when you talk about casting stones or pulling beams, or I think it's don't pull the mote out of your brother's eye because you might have a beam in your own eye, and I think that's what you're saying, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So sometimes we use that, and that keeps us from speaking aloud towards something that may exist, and we feel that we don't need to discuss it because we don't want to judge our brother or sister, right?
Thank you.
But my thing is this, Brother Zanya, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think there's something wrong? Or do you think that the issue that I spoke about tonight was true indeed? Or do you think this is false?
No. What it is where's your heart coming from when you're speaking it? It don't even mean that you conquered it yourself. But what truth have you received from the word of God that makes you speak that way?
Right.
Where is it coming from? You know what I'm saying? So it's about like if I see a brother struggling with the same thing I'm struggling with and I haven't gotten over it yet, I had to receive that grace and mercy from God. And I had to receive that the right way. And so when I talk to somebody and I'm like, hey, I see you struggling the same way I did. I understand what that struggle is. These are some of the things that help me. I'm not perfect, but this is how it helps me.
Yes.
So I'm not here to bash you over your head. I'm here to edify you with the word and not beat you down with it.
Come on now. Man, I sure appreciate you calling in, man. I believe you told me you got a new book, man. Go on, plug your book, man.
Well, Miss Arnikia Robinson, Miss Bendable, Unbreakable herself out there in Texas.
Okay.
And it is in the process of being edited right now. So
wow,
I'm waiting for it.
Man.
Thank you. And I sent you an excerpt from it, but it's raw and ragged because I'm a poetry writer, so I just flow. So
Yes, no, it sounded good. I actually read the excerpt that you sent me, and that's why I wanted you to drop it. What's going to be the title of the book?
Standing on your standards, killing control. And so the
Standing on your
subtopic,
standards.
standing. The thing is, if you don't allow a person to, control you, it's because you're standing on your standards. If you're saying this is the way I live, this is a lifestyle, you don't come in here and control what lifestyle that I've created with my creator and myself and how I feel and how I think and where I'm going.
Right.
You don't get to just come in and, go over boundaries and get my time and get my money and control the way I do things and how I operate. You know, you work with me, but don't try to control me.
Let me ask you one more question before I let you go, Brother Zaniel. What do you think about the step down and step up campaign that I talked about?
I think
Did
that
you get a chance to
it
catch
should
that?
humble yourself.
Okay.
You should humble yourself. And if I know that I'm not right, I'll be giving a word to people and I'll be bleeding over the people that I'm supposed to be serving. I have to heal myself enough in order to serve somebody else. Like if I'm a nurse and I'm serving coronavirus patients, if I have coronavirus myself, I'm not able to serve them yet. I have to take the time to heal and get myself in the right standing in order to help, in order to be effective in what I'm trying to do.
That's deep, man. Thank you so much, brother, for calling
Thank
in. I
you.
definitely appreciate you. And I definitely want to talk to you soon about your book. Let me know when you drop it.
Gotcha.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
brother.
you.
Good night. Anybody else want to talk? Let me drop the link in the chat one more time. Appreciate the brother Zaniel Lowry for checking in. Let me go back to the chat. StreamYard.com. I got time tonight, man. I thought I would have all my haters watching, all my critics. Y'all tap in. Let's definitely talk about it. If not, then I know that what I said was on point. Because I believe in just keeping it real, trying to be true to y'all, trying to be true to my community. Let me pop over here to Facebook. Benny Green, what up? He said the set is looking nice. You like that set, Benny? Appreciate that, man. Big Paul says, speak on it. Matt Brown, what's happening, Pastor? Much love to you. Amy Williams. Shad Fuller said, pastors need an integrity test. Come on now. Come on now. The pastors need an integrity test. And I'm going to go further than that, Chuck. And I'm going to say that the members need an integrity test. Because remember, I said, it's not just these pastors. You got some show enough good, righteous folk out here that's doing an amazing work in God's house. And the pimps is in the pews in that particular situation. Yeah, folk got motive, man. Just joining the church to, try to get all the members to come and, support their new product, support their new business. Everybody got a new business. Don't use God's folk in that manner. Aisha Hamilton, I see you popped in. This has been something that, it's been going on all week with me. And I knew everybody thought that I was bashing, but if you really know me, I wouldn't dare bash God. I wouldn't bash God's house, but I do want to bash that cancer that's inside of this church and this community. One more time, y'all, 76% of Americans are Christians. That's a beautiful feat. And I believe that means that we should be winning a whole lot of folk over to God. Sometimes you can't grow where you're not being fed. Whoa. Sometimes you can't grow where you're not being fed. So if you're in a church, I'm going to just go all the way with it. If you're in a church and you feel you're not growing, you're in the wrong place. That means you're not being fed. Nothing against those folks. Go look somewhere else. You'd be surprised. Almost like a bad relationship. Some people go to church because it's a family thing. Some people go to church, it's a fashion show and all this foolishness. But y'all don't realize that most folks that's in church, are sick. They looking for that IV. I know that's how I am when I go. Man, I'm messed up. When I get in there, I need a word. I don't have time to play, and I sure don't have time to be playing with nobody in the pews and playing with nobody that's in the pulpit. This thing is serious. I'm sick. I need the IV. And the IV typically come through this. If you foul, step down and let somebody step up that's real, that's righteous, that has integrity, that realizes it's my job to serve the people, not the people serve me. I'm going to drop the link one more time, y'all. Zanulari, hey, I appreciate you, brother. Amy, 76% are Christians, but we are at our lowest point. Wow. Amy, great point. Guess what? The Generation X, the Generation Z, these millennials, they don't go to church. They feel like something's missing. Something's got them where they don't want to go. So it's up to brothers like me to make it. Man, you know how hard it is for me to do this? This is totally out of my comfort zone. Totally switch within. But I don't care. They're going to kill me just because I'm speaking against evil? This is evil. It's a cancer. Because some of these guys, they know what they're doing. Some of these ladies, they slick. Real slick. I'm not going to say the church, but during my research, I heard, I didn't read it, so I don't know if it's facts, but they said when you join this one church, that they ask for your W-2 in the membership application. Really? So you know how much that I'm, supposed to, I get it. I get it, but I don't get it. I don't get that. Like I said, the church does a lot of business. They got bills just like anybody else. The church has bills just like anybody else. I get that. The church is doing big business. I get it. But the church is not a business. And you know what? All the other 501c3s have to do a lot of reporting, a lot of details. Shad Fuller and I had a nonprofit. Still got it. And we'd have to do a lot of reporting. But the church don't have to do a lot of reporting. And that just, to me, seems like that's part of that gray area. I'm supposed to give my money, give my time, give my heart, give my love, and you got motive? That's not the way that works. And you're the preacher thinking, I'm giving my all, I have integrity, I'm righteous. And no, Brother Eric, the church is not going to sign on with your new service that you're selling. Y'all stop using the church, whether you're a minister, whether you're in the congregation, stop pimping. Stop trying to get something out of the church. And start realizing one more time, the shepherd, he serves the sheep. How do you know, Brother Eric? Because it's in the Bible. Jesus said, I didn't come to be served. I came to serve. Amy said, thank you, niece. To God be the glory for me having the power, the willpower to actually speak up, because this was real spicy. The children are a reflection of what is going on. They should be in the streets and the schools. If God is with them, who will come against them? That's real. Do you know the church in your community? Do you? If you don't, then that's sad on their behalf. Because I thought this thing was all about, check this word out, missionary work, where you actually go out looking for folk. Hold on, watch this. Not judging nobody, not having no motive, but just truly trying to get to know that person, connect with them, and do some good. Is that you? Or do you have motive? Do you have a plan and a scheme that sets your family straight, but all the parishioners, they just fall by the wayside, really don't have nothing, broke. Church ain't, you need $100 on a light bill. You got to fill out a 10-page questionnaire. It shouldn't be that way, especially if the churches are doing well. At what point is the church doing well and that kind of spills over into the community? That's just my opinion, guys. I'm gonna drop the link one more time because I definitely thought I would have more people wanting to chime in. Maybe not, and that's okay, guys. I just want to speak on it, bring it to the forefront, give you a different perspective. Because one more time, if you just joined, when's the last time the church allowed you to stick your hand in the collection plate just to get gas money because you barely made it? Ever? I know I've never put my hand in the collection plate. I've never seen the churches join forces, like 2 or 3 little ones get together and make a medium. 2 or 3 mediums get together and make a mega church. I'm not knocking the big churches. I'm not knocking the small churches, the mediums, none of that. I'm knocking the ideology of that pimp trying to take something, trying to, get away with something that really they shouldn't be doing. And you know what I know, y'all? They know it. They know it. Hey, y'all, next week, we're going into the wealth gap. I definitely appreciate everyone for joining in. Y'all do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this live. What I've realized real quick is that when you like it, it's free to like it, y'all. It's free to subscribe. That we touch the algorithm a little bit different. When you like it and I have a certain amount of likes, people share it. Share the live with somebody if it, made sense to you tonight. Let me touch the algorithm and have YouTube put me in some places where I typically wouldn't be put. Next week, like I said, we're going with the wealth gap. And the wealth gap, super spicy topic. Typical white families have 10 times the wealth of a black family. I won't get into that. But until next week, y'all, be blessed.
Everything you want in life, I believe, is right outside your comfort zone.
Author Eric Johnson, The Switch Within. Author Eric Johnson, The Switch Within. Sunday Night Live.